Let's ponder on this. We'll do so in the company of the royal commentator Rafe Heydel-Mankoo and the author Amy Nickell. A very warm welcome to both of you. Amy, can I start with you? Because I think you take a more sympathetic view towards the Duke of Sussex on this one. You feel that he faces a genuine threat in this country. All members of the royal family do. We've seen that in the past, obviously. But you feel perhaps there's a particular type of animus directed towards him. He may not be entirely safe.
So I really want to make clear before we start this debate that Prince Harry is not asking for the taxpayer to fund anything. He's saying that he wants to pay for his own security, but that he wants the Scotland Yard security, which is the only way he will feel safe in the UK. And I think that's for a number of reasons, because I think the way people are looking at it at the moment is that we risk history repeating itself. His mother, Princess Diana, died in tragic circumstances when he was 13. He's had a lot of trauma from that, so it's no surprise that he's particularly cautious. At the time of her death, she did not have state-funded security, much like he doesn't at the moment. And the reason this is important is because if you don't have the Scotland Yard security, they don't have access to the same intelligence. They also, really crucially, cannot carry a firearm. And ironically, this was sparked by when he came over to the UK for the unveiling of Diana's statue. And he was absolutely hounded by the paparazzi. He had a terrible experience, which has prompted him to say he doesn't want to come back to the UK unless he has the Scotland Yard protection, which he is saying he will pay for himself. So it's really a no-brainer, and I can't see how anybody could argue otherwise.
Rafe, just on Amy's point about the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, I mean, she's linking it directly, and some people would agree with her, to the behaviour of the paparazzi, and that's now mirrored more recently by the sorts of photojournalists who are following Prince Harry around. But just on a point of fact, I mean, I would say, and I've talked to Trevor Rees-Jones, who was the only survivor from that Paris crash in the Pont d'Almar tunnel back in 1997, and it happened because Henri Paul, the driver, was off his head on drink and drugs. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody who knows about these sorts of things, people in the security services and so forth, say it wasn't the paparazzi who drove Diana to her death. It was Henri Paul, and it was Dodi Fayed's inadequate security detail. So the blame actually does lie squarely on the security that the Fayeds had and on the chauffeur driver. Quite frankly, Prince Harry has to accept that we live in a free country. The paparazzi are a real nuisance. They're annoying. They can be a nightmare. But we live in a country with a free press. And quite frankly, being mobbed by paparazzi at Kew Gardens or on Kensington Church Street isn't really sufficient grounds to say that your life is in threat or a danger. That's a gross exaggeration. It's also completely inaccurate for him to say that by not having access to intelligence, he's somehow more at risk than anybody else. If there were a real security risk for Prince Harry, our intelligence services would, of course, take action. We have to remember that. They aren't going to simply let that information not go unnoticed. And then, of course, you could perfectly well expect Scotland Yard to take the necessary action. What he needs to do, really, the solution to this, is to do exactly what his cousins, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, do. They hire ex-royal protection officers who are extremely skilled and have a lot of history in this area. And they've also got security clearance in the royal palaces. The only thing that they don't have is a firearm, which is quite understandable. And if Prince Harry speaks very nicely to Beatrice and Eugenie, maybe he can borrow their protection officers when he's in the country. And of course, we're only talking about occasions when he's not in royal surroundings, because if Harry's over here visiting his family, he will, of course, get the same protection that they're getting by virtue of being in the same area.
Amy, that also... Oh, go on. Amy, go on.
He will not be getting the same protection, because who was in his immediate family? Prince William, Prince Charles, and then his grandmother, the Queen, all who get state-funded security. When you try and compare him to his cousins, that's wholly incomparable, as if they get the same amount of attention or threat. He's sixth in line to the throne. There are only 5 people ahead of him. And also, you said it yourself, that Diana had inadequate security detail. The night has been that's completely wrong. The night has been quoted as absolute chaos from a security perspective. And there are a number of royal sources and security experts who have said that Diana might be alive today had Scotland Yard been protecting her. So I think what you said there was completely inaccurate.
Rafe, do you want to come back?
Yeah, absolutely. My point was, if Prince Harry is visiting his family in their royal palaces, he will benefit from their royal protection. You know, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, was almost kidnapped in 1974. Her personal protection officer was shot 3 times. She's the daughter of the Queen. She's just as high profile, and yet she doesn't get full-time police protection herself. You know, so we've got to put this thing into perspective. He's a wealthy man. He can easily hire former royal protection officers. Scotland Yard are not Securicor. They're not guns for hire that you can just come over and hire them as if you're in a saloon somewhere. You know, where does this stop? Why he is a private citizen. Why not have Kanye West then come over and say he can hire them? Or indeed some foreign royal, despotic family from Saudi Arabia. What's to stop them coming over and making the same demands? It just doesn't hold any water.
Can I just add one thing to that? Kanye West is not immutably, he was not born into being a pop star. He chose his route. Prince Harry was born into his role. He has no say in whether he's a prince or not. It's by birth. Completely different.
Can I get involved in this? I'm sitting here like a lemon. I want to get involved because you're having such fun. Amy, just one tick. Just on the point about the private citizen thing. I mean, one choice the Duke of Sussex is exercising in all this is the decision to mount legal action against the Home Office. And for some people, that will strike a raw nerve, a sour note, because it's striking an antagonistic pose, isn't it? It will feel wrong to some people that the Prince of the United Kingdom, a Prince of the United Kingdom, grandson to our monarch and head of state, is suing a taxpayer-funded institution like the Home Office. They will look at this and say, come on, this is a family dispute. Sort it out amid the family.
I completely disagree because I completely disagree. The reason he's doing this is for his family, not only his immediate family, his 2 young children, but also so that he can come back to the UK and visit his grandmother, who I think at the moment could do with a bit of company, the time that she's having. And I think he's making a stand because he's saying, what option have I got left? Like, I have said to you that I don't want your money. I just want your security that you provide. It's impossible for him to do it either way for a reason that we've already said, particularly because, you can't have the same firearms, you can't have the same intelligence. So what is he left with? I think he's doing the reasonable thing for his family and for his extended family so that he can come and support his grandmother at the time that she most needs him.
He's grandstanding and he's exaggerating. If he wants police protection, he knows what he has to do. He has to return to the UK. He has to apologise for his terrible behaviour in recent years. He has to commit himself to perform royal duties 100%, help his family and serve the nation. You don't get something for nothing. If he wants the protection, you've got to do the graft. And quite frankly, it's absolutely appalling in this Platinum Jubilee year for Prince Harry, who's already caused so much stress and trouble for his grandmother, to actually take his grandmother's government to court. We have to remember, it's the first time that a member of the royal family has taken Her Majesty's government to court. This is absolutely outrageous in a year when all focus should be on Her Majesty's 70 years of reigning as Queen. We've got enough to deal with Prince Andrew, also with Prince Harry's memoirs coming out this year. What a ghastly gift to give to your grandmother in her Jubilee year than a tell-all memoir, which is going to reveal all sorts of secrets, allegedly. Absolutely appalling behaviour, and there's no reason why he needs to do all of this right now. Terrible timing, terrible judgment.
There's also no reason why we all need to be discussing it right now, and I think you need
you didn't have to agree to come on, Amy.
But, I think if you're talking about the Queen having a terrible time with certain members of her family, there are other ones that are particularly cause for concern, and I'm sure Harry's not really being the problem that you suggest in light of what else is going on in her family.
Amy, sorry, go on, Rafe, have the last word.
No, absolutely. No one is saying that there aren't other royals who have caused problems this year, but Harry and Meghan certainly have been number 2, I would say, on the hit list of troubled royals this year. And it's just absolutely unacceptable for him to be behaving this way in this Jubilee year when his grandmother has lost her husband, has had severe problems with her own health, we know, and has had all of these other troubles at this time to deal with, when all attention should be focused on his grandmother becoming Queen on February the 6th. We're only about 3 weeks away from this grand event, and this story is now arising now. Terrible.
Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. Sorry,
come to the UK.
sorry, Amy, but we're out of time. But next time, if you agree to come on, we'll talk about it. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo and the author Amy Nickell joining us on that one. Keep your thoughts coming in. I'm sure you will.